My fiancée slept with her boss while I was planning her dream honeymoon, so canceled the wedding and left her to face the fallout alone. I'm a 29-year-old guy, and I thought I'd finally found the woman I'd spend the rest of my life with. Her name was Emily, confident, ambitious, and the kind of person who could walk into any room and instantly draw attention. I used to think she was magnetic because she loved me. Looking back, maybe I just wanted to believe that when we first met. I was a year into my job as a project coordinator, nothing flashy, but stable. I liked knowing I could provide, that I was dependable. Emily said that's what she loved about me, that I made her feel safe. We'd stay up late talking about our future, the little house we'd buy, the trips we'd take, the kids we might have someday. Those conversations made everything feel possible. I still remember our engagement night. I spent weeks planning it, a rooftop dinner, fairy lights, soft music, the exact wine she loved. When she said yes, tears in her eyes, I felt like every ounce of hard work in my life had finally paid off. Her family hugged me like I belonged, and for a brief moment, I thought I'd finally found peace. But even in those perfect days, there were tiny things I didn't want to notice. She'd talk about her job constantly, the exciting campaigns, her boss's vision, how much she was learning under his guidance. I'd listen, smiling, even when it stung a little that she never asked about my work. I told myself she was just passionate. Sometimes she'd cancel dinner plans last minute, claiming deadlines or late meetings. I'd tell her to rest, that I'd heat up leftovers. She'd kiss my forehead and say, "You're too good to me." I didn't realize that the same devotion that made me proud was the very thing that would later break me at the time. All I felt was gratitude, like I was the luckiest man alive. I had no idea my loyalty would soon be turned into a weapon against MI after the engagement. Life felt like a dream I'd worked years to earn. I wanted to give Emily everything, not because she asked, but because seeing her happy made me feel alive. She'd always talked about wanting a perfect honeymoon. So I started planning one quietly in the background, saving extra from my paycheck. Researching resorts, calling travel agents during lunch breaks. I pictured her reaction when I'd finally surprise her with it. Meanwhile, Emily threw herself deeper into work. She'd talk about long nights at the office, how her team was pushing for a breakthrough. At first, I admired it. Her dedication made me proud. I thought we were both building something, just in different ways. But soon, I started noticing how the hours stretched longer. How she'd come home too tired to talk. How her phone lit up well past midnight with messages from someone labeled Marketing HQ. I tried to joke about it one night. "You and that phone might as well be married first," I said, half smiling. She laughed, kissed me on the cheek, and said, "You're just jealous of my ambition." Her tone was playful. But her eyes didn't match her words. On weekends, I'd show her wedding venues, cake designs, or playlists. She'd nod distractedly, scrolling through emails or texts. Still, I convinced myself she was just stressed. "You're amazing for handling all this," she'd tell me. "I couldn't do it without you." That one sentence always melted away my doubts. One night, while browsing honeymoon destinations, I landed on a stunning oceanfront villa in Bali. It felt right, the kind of place where memories were made. I imagined us walking hand in hand on the beach, free from work, from stress. She was sitting beside me, replying to a message. Her phone buzzed and she smiled. Not at me, but at the screen. I remember asking, "Who's that?" She looked up, caught off guard, and said softly, "Just work stuff." I wanted to believe her, so I did, and that was the night I unknowingly began planning the perfect honeymoon. For a woman who was already slipping away, it started with small things changes. So subtle that I almost gaslit myself into thinking I imagined them. Emily began wearing more makeup to work, her perfume stronger, her outfits sharper. "New client presentation," she'd say casually, applying lipstick in the hallway mirror before leaving earlier than usual. I'd smile and tell her she looked beautiful. Something in my chest always tightened when she didn't meet my eyes. She was distant in ways I couldn't define. Texts became shorter. Our nightly calls turned into, "I'm exhausted. Can we talk tomorrow?" I'd tell myself she was just busy, that the stress of the wedding and work was overwhelming her. Love makes you rationalize the red flags until they become wallpaper. One afternoon, a friend of mine, Mark, who worked near her office, called me, sounding hesitant. "Hey, I don't want to stir anything, man, but I saw Emily having lunch with some guy. Older, expensive suit. Looked like her boss. They were laughing. Looked close. My stomach dropped, but I forced a laugh. It's probably work stuff," I said. "She talks about him a lot." Even as I said it, I could hear how hollow my own voice sounded. That night, when she came home, I asked gently, "Rough day?" "Mark said he saw you out at lunch." She blinked, smiled, and said, "Oh yeah, with my boss. We were discussing a new campaign." "Don't tell me you're jealous." I felt stupid for even bringing it up. I apologized, saying I just missed her. She kissed my cheek and whispered, "You worry too much." Later that night, I stared at the ceiling while she scrolled through her phone beside me, smiling faintly at something she didn't share. Her laughter used to make me feel warm. That night, it made my skin crawl. Still, I told myself she wouldn't hurt me. Not the woman I was about to marry. Despite the quiet unease building inside me, I doubled down on being the perfect fiancée. I convinced myself that love could fix the distance, that effort could silence doubt. I spent weekends crafting the wedding playlist, finalizing the guest list, calling vendors to make sure every detail matched her vision. Emily barely participated, but whenever she did, she'd smile sweetly and say, "You're so good at this. I don't know what I'd do without you." Her words felt like reassurance, but her eyes were always somewhere else. She began posting more on social media, long captions about chasing dreams and career milestones, sprinkled with a few engagement photos for balance. In one post, she tagged her boss with a quote about inspiring mentors. It shouldn't have bothered me, but it did. The comments were full of coworkers praising them as a power team. I scrolled through them at 2 a.m., my chest aching in silence. At family dinners, Emily bragged about her job. "My boss says I have real leadership potential," she'd say proudly. While my mother gushed about how lucky I was to have such a driven fiancé, I nodded, smiling through the discomfort, feeling more like a bystander in my own engagement. One night, we were watching a movie when she leaned over and murmured, "Can you pass me my phone? It's on the counter." When I handed it to her, the screen briefly lit up. A text from her boss. "You look stunning today." She quickly swiped it away, pretending not to notice. My throat tightened. "Everything okay?" I asked. She didn't flinch. "Yeah," she said, eyes fixed on the screen. "Just work stuff." I wanted to question it, to demand the truth, but love makes cowards out of the kind-hearted. So I said nothing, burying the dread beneath a smile. That night, as she drifted to sleep beside me, she mumbled something half-dreaming, a name that wasn't mine. My heart stopped. When I whispered, "What did you say?" she rolled over and said softly, "Nothing, babe. Go to sleep." But sleep never came. Only the echo of that name. From that night on, everything she did felt heavy with a second meaning. The way she guarded her phone, the way she smiled faintly while texting, the way she suddenly became obsessed with how she looked before work. I tried to brush it off, but deep down, I knew something had shifted. The kind of change you can't fix with flowers or apologies. She started coming home later, claiming there were client dinners or urgent revisions. I wanted to believe her, but the details never added up. One Friday I texted her, "Want me to pick you up after work?" She replied hours later, "Can't tonight. Team drinks." But when she came home near midnight, her hair smelled like cologne. Not her perfume, but something sharper. Masculine. That night I couldn't sleep. I kept replaying small details, her missed calls. The smirk she gave when texting, the guilt that flickered when I asked about her day. My instincts screamed, but my heart kept making excuses. A week later, Mark, the same friend who saw her before, called again. His tone was cautious. "I don't know how to say this, man, but I saw her again. Same guy, different restaurant. They weren't acting like coworkers." My throat went dry. "You sure it was her?" I asked. He sighed. "I wish I wasn't." I hung up, staring at our engagement photo on the shelf, her arms around me, eyes bright with love. It felt fake now, like a performance. That evening when she got home, I asked, "Hey, who were you with for lunch today?" She froze for half a second, then smiled smoothly. "Just the team." "Why?" "Mark said he saw you with your boss again," I said quietly. She laughed loud, rehearsed, almost mocking. "Oh my God, you're jealous again." "Seriously?" I forced a weak laugh too, pretending to be embarrassed. "Guess I am." She brushed my cheek with her hand. "Don't worry so much. You're my forever." But as she turned away, my gut twisted. I didn't believe her anymore, not fully. And yet, I wasn't ready to admit it out loud. The truth came crashing down one ordinary Wednesday night. Emily texted me that she'd be working late again, another product launch, another excuse. I decided to surprise her, bringing dinner to her office. It wasn't suspicion at first. It was desperation. I missed her. Missed us. I thought maybe a small gesture could pull her back toward me. The building was mostly dark when I arrived. Her floor glowed faintly through the glass, one light still on. I walked down the corridor quietly, holding the takeout bag, when I heard laughter echoing from behind her office door. Not the polite kind, the kind laced with intimacy, the kind I hadn't heard in months. I froze when I recognized her voice. "Stop," she said between laughs. "What if someone sees?" A man's voice replied, low and teasing, "It's after hours, Em. No one's around." Then silence, followed by the unmistakable sound of a kiss. My heart hammered so loud I thought they'd hear it. I didn't burst in. I didn't shout. I just stood there, every illusion dissolving, every memory of our laughter replaced with this moment. When I finally turned and walked out, the dinner bag slipped from my hand and hit the floor. I didn't even stop to pick it up. That night she came home late, hair messy, claiming she'd been wrapping up reports. I sat on the couch in the dark, pretending to scroll through my phone. "How was work?" I asked. "Exhausting," she sighed. I smiled faintly. "Yeah, I bet." She didn't notice the cold in my voice. Didn't notice that I didn't kiss her goodnight. When she fell asleep, I quietly checked her bag. Hotel receipts, messages, photos hidden in a separate album. It was all there, proof of everything I refused to see. I didn't confront her. Not yet. I needed to be sure. I needed a plan after that night. Something inside me broke, but not in the way I expected. I didn't scream. I didn't cry. I just detached. It was like watching my life from outside my own body. I went through the motions, made breakfast, sent good morning texts, discussed wedding details, all while quietly collecting every piece of evidence I could find. I learned how to read her lies like a second language. When she said, "I'm staying late," it meant a hotel room. When she said, "just tired," it meant she'd been with him. She even used the same perfume I once bought her for our anniversary, maybe to hide his scent. That hurt more than anything, the way she used my love as camouflage. One evening, she sat next to me on the couch, scrolling through her phone. "Can you believe how fast time's flying?" she said, leaning her head on my shoulder. "We'll be married before we know it." I smiled. "Yeah, before we know it?" She didn't notice how empty my eyes were when I said it. Over the next week, I set everything in motion quietly. I canceled the venue reservation, reversed the honeymoon payment, and contacted the vendors, all booked under my name. No drama, no confrontation, just silent erasure. Meanwhile, I kept up appearances. I helped her pick centerpieces, replied to her mother's messages about table settings, even pretended excitement about tux fittings. I wanted her to believe everything was fine, that she'd won. Then one night, while she was asleep, her phone lit up beside me. A message preview flashed. "He's so clueless." I almost feel bad. I stared at it for a long time, my jaw locked. There it was, the proof that she wasn't just cheating. She was mocking me. That was the moment my pain turned to clarity. If she thought I was clueless, I'd let her believe it until the very end. The week before the wedding, Emily came home looking conflicted. She didn't kiss me hello like she used to. Instead, she sat across from me at the table, fiddling with her engagement ring. I remember asking, "Everything okay?" And she gave me a weak smile before saying, "I've been thinking. Maybe we should postpone the wedding." Her words hit like a physical blow. For a second I couldn't breathe. Postpone? I asked quietly. Why? She sighed. I'm not sure I'm ready. It's all moving so fast. Fast? We'd been together for years. I'd built my entire life around her. The honeymoon was planned, the invitations sent, everything paid for. Yet she sat there, calm, like she was talking about changing dinner reservations. I wanted to ask if it was because of him. The humiliation froze my tongue. Instead, I just nodded slowly. If that's what you want, she looked relieved. Relieved. And that was what broke me. She reached across the table, touched my hand, and said softly, "You're the best man I've ever known. I just need space." After she went to bed, I sat alone for hours. My chest felt hollow. I replayed every moment, every laugh, every promise, realizing they meant nothing to her. I'd been her safety net, her backup plan. The man she'd marry when the thrill ended. At some point, I walked into the bathroom, stared at my reflection, barely recognized myself. I looked like a ghost, drained, defeated, humiliated. I didn't cry. I was past that. That night was my rock bottom. It wasn't just losing her, it was losing the version of myself that believed in her. But even at my lowest, one thought kept echoing in my head. She has no idea what's coming because love had died, and in its place, something colder had begun to take shape, something she'd never see coming. The morning after her postponed talk, I woke up feeling strangely calm, the kind of calm that comes when pain burns itself out and leaves only clarity. Emily acted like nothing had happened. She hummed in the kitchen, scrolling through her phone, smiling at messages she didn't want me to see. I just watched her, realizing how easily she could fake love. That day, I started making quiet moves. I contacted every vendor, venue, florist, photographer, and canceled everything booked under my name. Most of it was refundable. The rest didn't matter. The honeymoon? I called the travel agency, rerouted the funds to my account, and told them the trip would be solo. I made sure no email confirmations went to her when she asked later, "Did you confirm the Bali itinerary?" I smiled. "Yeah, it's all set." And it was just not for us. Over the next few days, I played my role perfectly. I brought her coffee in the mornings, talked about wedding details, even laughed at her jokes. I wanted her comfortable, overconfident. I wanted her to think. I was still the fool she could manipulate. What she didn't know was that I'd already gathered everything. The texts, the photos, the hotel receipts. I'd even found her work emails where she'd scheduled business trips, were nothing more than getaways with her boss. Late one night, I printed it all. Dozens of pages. Each one a reminder of how deeply she'd underestimated me. I placed the stack neatly in a folder labeled Final Plans. She thought it was for the wedding. In a way, it was. My plan wasn't revenge in the cinematic sense. I didn't want to hurt her physically or scream in her face. I wanted silence, deliberate public silence that would expose her, without me saying a single word. And as the date that should have been our wedding day approached, I knew exactly how it would all unfold. She'd wake up expecting forever. Instead, she'd find out it was already over. The morning of what was supposed to be our wedding day arrived, crisp, golden, and eerily quiet. Emily woke up humming, stretching beside me like it was just another Saturday. She had no idea that by noon, her entire life would collapse. She rolled over and smiled. "Can you believe it? We're supposed to be married today." I smiled faintly. "Yeah, hard to believe." While she showered, I sent the emails. Each one attached with a PDF, the messages, the photos, the receipts. The first went to her company's HR department. The second, to her boss's wife, who I'd found on social media. The third, to our close friends and family. The subject line was simple: "Why the wedding is canceled." Within minutes, my phone exploded with notifications. Unreadable at first, then one by one. I saw the reactions: disbelief, shock, pity. I didn't respond to any of them. I didn't need to. The truth was speaking louder than I ever could. Emily came out of the shower wrapped in a towel, her hair dripping. "You're dressed already?" she asked, confused. I looked at her calmly. "Yeah, I'm heading out." She laughed nervously. "What are you talking about? We're not even leaving yet." I held up the folder, "Final plans." "You might want to check your email," I said quietly, then walked past her. By the time I reached my car, her scream echoed from inside the house. My phone rang nonstop, her number flashing again and again, but I didn't answer. I drove in silence, city blurring past me like I was finally shedding a skin that had suffocated me for months. Later that afternoon, mutual friends started messaging me. "She's losing it. Her boss got suspended." "Everyone knows." I didn't smile. I just felt ... empty, like justice had been done. But the victory wasn't sweet. It was quiet, heavy, and necessary. Emily wanted control. Instead, she got exposure, and I got my freedom. By the evening, the world around Emily had already begun to crumble. I didn't need to witness it. Word traveled fast. Her boss's wife had forwarded everything to upper management, and within hours, both of them were called into HR. The office gossip spread like wildfire. The perfect mentor and rising star duo was suddenly the scandal of the year. Meanwhile, I turned off my phone and boarded my flight, the same one that was supposed to take us on our honeymoon. Except this time, there was only one ticket. As the plane lifted off, I stared out the window, feeling an odd stillness in my chest. It wasn't joy. It wasn't revenge. It was release. When I landed in Bali, my inbox was flooded with messages. Friends offering support, her family demanding explanations, and Emily herself dozens of missed calls, desperate voicemails. One of them played automatically, "Please, just talk to me." I messed up. "You don't understand. It wasn't serious." I was stupid. "Please don't do this to me." But the irony was brutal. I hadn't done anything to her. She'd done it all to herself. Over the next few days, I stayed in silence. I walked the same beaches I once planned for us, watched sunsets I thought we'd share, and let the ocean wash away the anger. Every wave felt like it was pulling another piece of her from me. Back home, Emily's life unraveled. Her boss resigned to avoid further investigation, and she was quietly let go. Friends distanced themselves. Even her own parents were humiliated. She became the story people whispered about. I didn't respond to a single message, not one. Revenge wasn't loud. It was the silence that followed her downfall. As I sat on that balcony overlooking the sea, I realized something powerful. She had broken my heart, but I'd broken her illusion. Months passed before I finally felt like myself again. Or maybe a new version of myself. The man who once built his world around Emily no longer existed. In his place was someone quieter, stronger, and far less willing to hand out trust like a gift. When I returned home, people treated me differently. Some looked at me with pity, others with admiration. I didn't care for either. I'd stopped needing validation the moment I walked away from her. I found a new rhythm. Early morning runs, long hours at work, dinner alone but peaceful. Silence no longer felt empty. It felt earned. One afternoon, I opened my email and saw her name again. Emily Roberts. The subject line read, "Please read this." For a moment I hesitated, curiosity fighting the part of me that wanted nothing to do with her. Eventually, I opened it. It was a long apology. She wrote about regret, shame, sleepless nights. She said she lost everything, her job, her friends, her reputation, and that she finally understood what she'd destroyed. She ended it with, "I'll never forgive myself for what I did to you. I hope someday you can find happiness." I read it twice. Then I deleted it without replying. Because forgiveness wasn't something she deserved to hear from me, it was something I quietly gave myself. That night, as I sat outside watching the city lights flicker, I realized something I'd missed all along. Love isn't proven by sacrifice. It's proven by respect. And the moment I started respecting myself again, I didn't need closure from her. Emily ruined her own story. I simply stepped out of it, and for the first time in years, I felt free. Not because I'd won, but because I finally stopped fighting for someone who was never mine to begin with.